Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. A few years ago, I had a minor injury. I tore my Achilles and I had to have surgery. And thankfully, it was minor. It wasn't really a big deal in the long term, the long scheme. However, it did make me really aware of some of my human limitations. And then that happened to me in my late 30s, and then as I approached 40, I started to think about health a little bit differently. See, when I used to think about health, I really thought about the scale. Like I thought about my weight or my weight loss journey, and every time that I would think about my health in that way, I'd have these like roller coaster experiences. So I would go hard for 60 or 90 days, I would cut, I would lose a bunch of weight, and then I would basically take a year off. And so what I found in my health journey was that I was maybe measuring it by the wrong thing. I was measuring it based on how I looked in the mirror, or, if you think about like measuring your health by how your clothes fit, for me, if I do that, I just buy new pants. And so my whole spiritual journey has been fairly disconnected from my health until recently. Again, when I started like examining life and seeing the fact that like my life is finite, although I realize being 40 isn't necessarily the end of things, but it definitely makes you aware of all the things that like you used to take for granted when you were 18 or 20, when you could work out after drinking a Mountain Dew, or you could get no sleep and function fine. And I realized that like my body just wasn't working as well as it used to. So I kind of went on a quest of like, how do I outsmart this? How do I figure this out? And bigger than that, how do I make this something that's spiritual? And so for me, as I started looking at this, one thing was connecting it to something bigger than me. So the first thing was connecting it to some of my personal goals, and my personal goals as being able to move better, being able to still get down on the ground and play with a kid or a nephew or those sorts of things. But it also became bigger than that for me. And for me, the faith component, the faith connection has been really relevant in Psalm 63:4. I've spent a lot of time in the Psalms in the last year of just trying to look for these places that we can sing out praise even in the midst of really difficult times. And this Psalm has really stood out to me. It says, "I will praise you as long as I live, lifting my hands in prayer." And there's a couple other versions of it that talk about breath, right? So with every breath, or as long as I have breath, I will praise you. And so for me, that's how I have figured out, or at least how I like to think about health, is that if it's true that my journey, my life is supposed to be connected to God, and that every time I take breath, or that as long as I have breath, I will praise God. I decided in my life that it wasn't about the size of my pants. It was, I wanted, if breathing is equating to praise, I wanted more breath. Like I didn't want to run out of breath. I didn't want to cut my life 2 to 10 years shorter based on my diet, based on my movement, based on all the lifestyle that I was living. If it's true that my life is a representation of my gratitude for God, my excitement for God, then I want more years, so that I can not run out of breath, so that I don't run short on breath. And now I know that not everybody's in the same spot physically. Not everybody is as able-bodied as me as a 40-year-old. I get that. But the challenge for us in our spiritual life is to look at places where we can manage, where we can impact our health. So when we think about our diet, are we doing things that will give us more breath so that our lives can continue to praise God? When we go to the grocery store and we park, are we finding the closest space? Or could we park a little bit further away so that we move just a little bit more today? Because that will give us just a few more breaths so that we can praise just a little bit more. And if you have the ability to climb a set of stairs like this, or to go on a treadmill or whatever it is, if we can continue to connect our health goals with our faith, I think we have a lot higher likelihood of doing so with gratitude. So those little tiny things like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or parking further away, or choosing a salad over a cheeseburger more often, not every day, but more often. What if we made that a spiritual act? What if we did that connected to the fact that if I know if I do that more and more and more, it will lead to more breath. It will lead then to more praise. So in your faith this week, consider your health goals. Consider how you might move, how you might eat, how you might think in a way that is praiseworthy, that gives you more breath. This week, in your faith, connect your health to your spirituality. Thanks for watching Faith in 5. If you like what you see, please like and share. If you're interested in making a donation to our ministry, please click the link below.